So you're turning your kids into a commercial opportunity. You want to profit from their exposure all over your Instagram.
But she has been
you want to get more
forced to
followers,
live a public
which will make you
life.
more money. You don't get the hypocrisy. Meghan shared that bedside twerking video taken shortly, apparently, before she gave birth to Lilibet. Remember the child that she named after the Queen's private nicknames without getting permission from the Queen.
This is gross and grim and deranged on every level.
Do you see any of the real Diana in Meghan? Did
God,
you?
no.
Really?
No. Sorry.
That's hilarious.
I think the tackiness comes from somebody who's a member of the British royal family putting out a twerking, heavily pregnant video.
Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
Prince Harry allowing a video like that so private to be put into the public domain is equally awful.
Why put your kids all over social media?
Because
if all you're banging on about is wanting privacy and protection for those children.
I think that she does like being in the limelight, and I do think she wants the children to soften her image.
Your husband talks about harm and effect of social media on children, but yet you are promoting social media.
They wanted their privacy. They wanted to be left alone. And yet at the same time, here they are at Disneyland putting pictures up of their kids all over social media for millions of people to look at. Everything they do seems so manipulative, calculated, PR motivated, money motivated.
Your neighbours, yeah. I mean, apparently they've been to Disneyland recently. She's going to add hotels and restaurants to her brand. What's this all about?
I think there's no better way to try to bury a tacky twerking video than the wholesome image that is Disneyland, right?
When their behaviour became obnoxious, self-serving, and rankly hypocritical. Sadly, millions of people around the world will watch this series and they'll believe it. They'll believe the smears about Britain and our monarchy, that we're a bunch of bigoted and hateful people.
Time, I have to say, ladies and gentlemen, for a very special guest. It is Kinsey Schofield, the one and only from the United States of America. Looks like a good time not to be in LA, actually.
I made my escape.
Well, Harry and Meghan's Netflix series, released to the world this morning, is packed with, well, they're not really revelations, are they? It's sort of rehashed old revelations with a new twist. As it turns out, we've apparently been wrong all along. Britain is a nasty, racist hellhole where only magnificent Meghan stood up to all this, and the world's biggest victims are not the people of Ukraine or the people battling COVID or people struggling in a devastating cost of living crisis. No, the world's biggest victims right now are the Duke and Duchess of Netflix. And don't take my word for it.
It was supposed to be sweet. A day out at Disneyland. Just a mom, a dad, 2 kids, and a whole lot of churros. But when Meghan Markle and Prince Harry strolled through the most photographed place on Earth, it didn't feel like family time. It felt like a setup. And now, even their loudest critic, yes, Piers Morgan is back, torching the narrative before the fireworks even started, because what was framed as a birthday celebration is now being dissected as a PR disaster. A warning shot dressed up as a photo op.
Taking all of the, you're distracting from all the headlines about how low can you go.
Yeah.
With like, look at how cute Lily's birthday cake is. So,
And this time, the palace isn't laughing. Let's not pretend this was spontaneous. Meghan and Harry didn't just show up at Disneyland on a whim. They walked through Fantasyland, the most crowded, most camera-packed section of the park, on a weekend. No VIP escorts, no private security route, just wide-open visibility and perfect angles. Harry pushed the stroller like he was auditioning for a Father's Day ad. Meghan smiled just enough to trigger screenshots.
This weekend was a bit wet and dank and damp and horrible, but, you know, I think it's going to be good this week.
well, I hope so too, because I did not bring damp clothing.
Did you not? That was very unwise. Well, you can always buy some, you know.
That's true.
Let's talk about the dreaded pair from Montecito, Meghan and Harry.
My neighbours.
Your neighbours, yeah. I mean, apparently they've been to Disneyland recently. She's going to add hotels and restaurants to her brand. What's this all about?
I think there's no better way to try to bury a tacky twerking video than the wholesome image that is Disneyland, right? Because now you're taking all of the, you're distracting from all the headlines about how low can you go.
Yeah.
With like, look at how cute Lily's birthday cake is. So I do think that what we're seeing is Meghan trying to change public perception with the children by using the children and pushing this mom of
the children who she never wanted to use for publicity, obviously.
Obviously not. No.
So that's changed.
We're not allowed to see them, but for some reason she's still posting them on the internet, which I think I'd love to talk to a psychologist about how if you're a weirdo that is curious.
And the kids? Their faces were blurred, but only just enough to spark curiosity. Photos dropped across the internet within hours. And let's be real, the timing wasn't a coincidence. This came just days after her viral twerking video inside a hospital gown leaked online. When that clip went viral for all the wrong reasons, she needed something to drown it out. What better than Disneyland, sunshine, and a baby stroller? It wasn't damage control, it was damage redirection. This is the same couple that fled the UK for privacy, the same duo that sued tabloids for taking photos over a fence, and now they're rolling up to Disneyland on a Saturday, with cameras catching every move. The contradiction wasn't just obvious, it was deafening. The public's reaction? Sharp. Privacy, when profitable, trended online.
Nobody set out to destroy you. You destroyed yourselves in this country with your ludicrous, hypocritical behaviour. The truth be told, what you just said is complete and utter garbage. Harry and Meghan's romance, engagement and marriage were all greeted with ecstatic joy by the British media, the public and the royal family that they've all now abandoned. That's the truth. Not Harry and Meghan's truth, but the actual truth. The first 3 hours of this Netflix series paint a very different, far uglier picture of this country and our royal family.
8 days after the relationship became public, I put out a statement calling out the racist undertones of articles and headlines that were written by the British press.
I wasn't thinking about how race played a part in any of this.
I sometimes call the Commonwealth Empire 2.0 because that is what it is.
There is a huge level of unconscious bias. The thing with unconscious bias is it's actually no one's fault. But
people weren't mad about the kids. They were mad about the manipulation. Because when you use your children as props in a rebrand and blur them just enough to protect your image, you're not parenting, you're performing. And right on cue, Piers Morgan lit the match. You don't even have to hear him speak to know what's coming. He's been circling the Sussex circus for years, and this latest act gave him everything he needed. The blurred baby photos, the strategic stroll, the sudden silence from Camp Sussex when the backlash began. When Piers gets involved, the story doesn't stay cute for long. And this time, his voice echoed something even loyal fans are starting to admit. It's all just too convenient. Reddit, Twitter, Instagram, all of it exploded. What was supposed to be a feel-good birthday moment turned into a case study in how not to do PR. Fans felt baited, critics felt vindicated, even some of Meghan's supporters admitted, this one didn't sit right, because it didn't feel real.
Enticing people that become obsessed with these types of things by teasing them with just these little bits.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of celebrities just don't put their children out at all. I mean, you know, even I didn't do it, not because I'm a celebrity, but I didn't want pictures of my children on the internet. Now, when they're older, they're 18, that's fine, but not.
It didn't feel maternal. It felt manufactured. And when your public image depends on relatability, that's the kind of mistake you can't afford. Meanwhile, back in the UK, the timing couldn't have been worse. The photos dropped right before Trooping the Colour, a major royal event, and the palace wasn't happy. Sources say Prince William was livid, not just about the photos, but about the message. Using the Queen's namesake, Lilibet, as a backdrop for what looked like brand rehab, that crossed a line. And now insiders say William is pushing for consequences. Real ones, revoking royal titles, freezing royal privileges, shutting the door on photo op royalty. Even Thomas Markle, the father Meghan hasn't called since his stroke, didn't get a mention. But she'll name her kid after the Queen and spin it into a PR tour. And no, she's not Princess Diana 2.0, no matter how badly the branding wants you to think so. And like clockwork, the lawyers are back on speed dial. Word is Meghan and Harry are considering legal action against who else? Piers Morgan. Again, it's their favorite move. Backlash hits. Cue the legal threats. But after years of courtroom drama, the public isn't buying it anymore. Because you can't scream privacy, then invite the world into your life and expect silence when it backfires. That's not protection, that's precision. And people are starting to connect the dots.
They were 10 or 5 or, you know, when they were little kids, you don't put pictures of them on the internet, you just don't do it.
Right.
Because there's a lot of weird people out there and you never know what's going to happen.
Right.
So for them to do it is really bizarre.
Yeah, I just think you're increasing the chances of attracting somebody that would hide in the bushes or, you know, like just like the inappropriate.
If this felt desperate, that's because it was. Meghan's new podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder, is flopping. Reviews are lukewarm. Engagement is weak. Even the Sussex PR machine can't spin the numbers. So, what's the fix? A viral moment. A spontaneous birthday at Disneyland. Something to flood the algorithm. But it didn't work. The hospital twerk clip was a disaster. This was supposed to make us forget it. Instead, it made everything worse. Because when you're trending for cringe, Disneyland isn't the antidote, it's more fuel. And the message wasn't, look at our family. It was, please look at anything but my failing podcast. This isn't new. It's the same tired cycle. Backlash, a staged outing, media noise, legal threats, then radio silence. They did it with Oprah. They did it with Spare, and they did it with that Netflix doc. Emotional voiceovers, slow-mo footage, curated vulnerability masked as truth. But each time it lands weaker. Each time it feels faker. The audience isn't stupid. You can only cry wolf or paparazzi for so long before people stop listening.
And marriage were all greeted with ecstatic joy by the British media, the public, and the royal family that they've all now abandoned. That's the truth. Not Harry and Meghan's truth, but the actual truth.
And maybe the worst part? Hollywood is moving on. No more endless invites. No more high-profile deals. The industry that once adored them is going quiet. And in entertainment, silence isn't neutral. It's rejection. What was once seen as bold and revolutionary is now exhausting. The red carpets are rolling up. The sympathy is wearing thin. And the brand, once invincible, is now radioactive. For years, Buckingham Palace stayed quiet, dignified, reserved. But behind the scenes, patience is gone. Sources say King Charles is embarrassed, William is done waiting, and the institution is preparing to act. No more soft diplomacy, no more second chances, because when your rebellion turns into reality TV and your family outings feel like PR ambushes, even the royals draw a line. There was a time when Meghan and Harry felt untouchable, glamorous, powerful. They stood for love, change, the modern monarchy. But now the story's different. Now it's contradictions, stunts, and lawsuits. Disneyland wasn't just a day out, it was a tipping point. Because when your harshest critic starts sounding like the voice of reason, that's not just a branding problem, that's the end of the fairy tale. Because when everything's a photo op, nothing feels real.